Mhm. What's going on, guys? You doing all right? I've got you muted, so you'll have to unmute yourself, but I've got you set up to be muted when you first come in.
I'm good, trying to figure out how to get a picture on here.
What was that, Arlene? Darren, can you hear me?
Hey, can you hear me?
Yep. Yep. Good.
Okay.
Hey, Arlene, Dwayne, good to see y'all. Just so y'all are aware, I've got you set up to be muted when you first come in. So you've got to control that. Try and mute yourself if you're not talking. That way it doesn't get too chaotic in here. Dwayne, how's work going, man? I know it's been a little hectic from your, I saw your Facebook post earlier yesterday.
Staying pretty busy.
Yeah. Yeah. It's part of it right now, I guess.
Upside on it, traffic's been really good.
Say that again.
But the upside is traffic's been really good.
Yeah. My drive to work has been like 7-8 minutes less than normal. So I'll take it.
Hey, Pastor Chris Litton.
Hey, brother, how are you doing?
I thought I would keep myself on video to show what not to do.
That's exactly right. You nailed it.
I look like that dude on the Liberty Mutual commercials where he's all blacked out. I'll switch. I'm just working with you.
Oh, you're good. That's funny.
No, you're wearing Miami junk. Go back to the silhouette thing.
You know, I'll tell you what, there are benefits to being a Miami fan because you can get all your gear for really cheap these days. Yes.
That is funny. Awesome. 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 Machosos, how y'all doing?
Good. How are you? We didn't know if you were seeing us or not.
Yeah, I can see you. You're
How's everyone
beautiful.
doing?
Doing well.
Good.
We tried Zoom this past weekend actually.
How'd it go?
It went well, except we didn't know that we had to pay for it to be longer than 40 minutes. So after 40 minutes, it just cut us off.
Yeah, we're going to talk about that today for sure.
But we've got that resolved, so it should be good.
Cool.
We're going to
Hey
use it
everybody,
tomorrow
as you're
too.
jumping in, keep your microphone muted if you are not talking, just because there's going to be so many of us tonight it could be chaotic. So if you're on a computer, it should be towards the bottom left of your screen, and I believe if you're on a tablet or your phone, it'll be towards the top right. But we'll go through some of that. But try and keep it muted if you're not the one chatting, so that there's not all this feedback going all over the place. It's 6:59. Hey, John, good to see you, brother. It's 6:59. We're going to give everybody 3 or 4 minutes because just like in your life group, people are just creatures of habit, and we're all late all the time. So we'll take that into consideration, and we'll jump in a few moments.
Hey, Chris,
Hey.
I'm on my phone, and I can mute or unmute on the left-hand side of my phone. I'm on an Android.
Perfect.
Arlene.
Excellent. Thank you, Arlene. Yeah, just so wherever that is for you, you have the ability to hit that. It's a little microphone. So
Okay.
once there's a red line crossing it out, that means it's muted. So.
Yep.
Are you okay if I put the fan?
In some countries, when people show up late to a teleconference, it's a sign of respect.
Wait, what is it, Mark?
It's a sign of respect, Chris.
Exactly.
How's everybody in Tallahassee doing for you?
They're good. I spoke with them a little bit after work, and Chandler has been, he's picked up solid foods this week. He's been eating like 4 or 5 different things, just kind of nonstop. And
Oh, that's cool, man.
He's doing well.
Feeling better?
Still got an ear infection. Grace didn't sleep much last night, unfortunately. Thank you for asking. Well, guys, it is 7 o'clock, and we'll give people some time to jump in. But I would love to hear from you and just kind of see, first and foremost, just to check in and see how everyone's doing. Probably the best way to do that, if you are able to pull up the chat bar, there's a way for you to be able to raise your hand. I think it says raise hand, and it puts a little thing for you. That way it's not too crazy. Fritz, I see that hand. Yes, sir. Fritz, go ahead, brother. How are you doing, man?
Bad. Yourself?
Man, I can't complain. What's been going on? How's work?
Doing good. Staying busy. Luckily, we were kind of set up to do the work from home, so it's been nice. And I was pushing a process that makes it very easy to work from home, so it all kind of fits together. God's plan, I hope.
Yeah, good. Somebody else how are y'all doing in the midst of all this chaos?
Hey, Chris.
Hey, John, how are you, brother?
I'm doing great. Where is the chat bar? I'm using the app on a Macintosh.
So it should either be towards the very bottom, or there may be 3 dots, ... right next to each other. And you can pull that up and you can see the chat.
Yeah, mine says more underneath it on the bottom right-hand side. I'm gonna go to my Mac real quick and get the Zoom app for you to see if I can.
Yeah,
I'm on a Mac. Basically, you just go down to the bottom, and then the bar pulls up, and right about in the middle it says chat.
Got it. Thank you.
I'm glad you did, because I just walked to my computer to try and get on the Mac. But like many, I'm not the only one working from home. My wife and my son are both in there right now working.
Hey, I don't see the chat bar either.
Okay, so are you on a computer, Robert?
Yeah, I'm on a computer.
Sorry, Rogio, are you on a computer? Rogio?
Yes, I am. Yes.
So if you scroll to the very bottom of the Zoom, you should be able to see a bar pop up.
Hey, Chris, you could also take a screenshot of it when you scroll over and then share that with the team if they need.
Yeah, absolutely.
What, all I see is, it looks like I'm on a gallery view, and I see a bunch of pictures. And then down the bottom of the screen, I've got the same bar that I have when I was broadcasting Sunday. So I don't see any chat.
Okay. That's all right. We'll find it out. I'll work with you, Rogio, on that, and we'll make sure we get it taken care of. So cool. Well, it's 7:03. Anybody else? How's COVID-19 impacting you all?
I think my wife's ready for me to go back to work.
Yeah.
Kind of like being retired.
Yeah, it's definitely interesting with 4 of us now. My 2 kids are both learning the hazards of working, or I guess doing school from the distance learning, and my wife is working from home. So the key thing we're trying to remember is how important it is to that we're all sharing the space. So you got to clean up after yourself a little bit more than usual around here now.
Yeah, for sure.
Hey, Chris, I got a couple questions.
What you got, real quick, Rogio? What you got?
You can call me Bob. I think we know each other well enough by now. 2 questions, since I may be the newest one at this. One, I got an email from you with the URL to join this meeting, okay? So I've got some of my people that may work for. So what I did was I just cut and paste that and put it in Firefox, clicked, and I was in. So that worked. The other one, there may be a few people in my group that want to just call in, just to telephone. Now, when I sent the invitation out the first time, I clicked computer and telephone, and I noticed the invitation had a bunch of telephone numbers. It had 6 telephone numbers down the bottom. But I suspect there'd be some from my group that just want to call in and listen.
Yeah.
How do we do that?
We'll look at that tonight for sure.
Okay.
I'll show you how to do that.
Okay.
Excellent. Cool. All right, it's 7:05. We're going to go ahead and jump on in. Tonight, I am recording this, so if I feel like I legally have to tell you that. I don't think there's anything wrong with that. Darren, I like your background. Looks like you're at the beach. But we are going to record this, and so if your microphone is not already on mute, do me a favor, double check that and make sure that it is, just for the sake of making tonight try to flow as smoothly as possible. There's 31 of us on here, and there's going to be more coming soon, I believe. So all that to be said, one, thank you so much for coming. Thank you for making this, taking the hour or so that this is going to take. And I think this is going to be helpful. At least I hope it is. And I want to show you a few things first and help you kind of get a few things set up and be mindful of a few things. And then we're going to answer some, you do question and answers towards the end. So if you at any point have a question, do me a favor, hold off on it towards the end, maybe write it down. I don't want you to forget it. So grab a notepad or something like that, or your phone, type a note in there. I do want to answer your questions. We want to be able to help you, but I think that we'll be able to answer a lot of your questions on the front end. So as we're walking through it tonight. So with all that being said, if you are not getting our emails, most of you are, I'm guessing, because you're here. But if you're not getting our kind of weekly emails, we're sending out one on Monday right now to LifeGroup leaders and members so that they have the resources that we used to just send to leaders. We've now been sending to your members as well, so that in case they're home alone and they're stuck in quarantine and isolation, they have some resources to look at as well. But if you're not getting those emails, if you didn't get the email today at noon at 12 o'clock, do me a favor, reach out to Darren if you're at Nocatee, reach out to Brian if you are at North, reach out to me if you're at Hodges, Pastor Eddie, or myself if you're at Southside, and we'll help to make sure that you get taken care of. we want to help you and make sure that you are in the know as much as possible. And so if you're not getting our emails, please make sure just to reach out and let us know on that. And then another quick thing, and then we're really going to jump into the training side of it. I really hope you understand that you are playing a critical role this season. You are in many ways at the perfect spot in the middle of the pipeline that's going to allow us to make sure that ministry happens well. And so the weight of your ministry, I hope you feel it, that it really, like, now maybe more than ever, being a life group leader, you are shepherding souls and you are helping to keep people connected to the local church, and that really matters. And so so two things that I think that role takes care of, or that role includes. One, it's going to be caring for your members really well. And I've even heard back from several people from Hodges, and I'm sure the same is true at other campuses, but you've already reached out and you've already contacted and you've stayed up to date. And that's exactly what you're supposed to be doing. And thank you for shepherding and caring well. But the other side of that is communicating well. So caring for your members, but communicating to your leaders. And so if there is at any point anything that you hear that you think maybe they would want to know this, maybe, you know, the staff at Chets would want to know this, please, you know, if you even have that thought, I would rather get the email and send it to the trash because I didn't need it than not know it. And so you can't over communicate in this time when we're separated. If there's anything you need, or any of your members need, or anything that's going on that we should be aware of praying for, please communicate that. So caring for your members on one side, and then communicating to the leaders on the other side. So that's kind of the first thing there. And then with that, I'm going to share my screen real quick, and I want to show you a website that we have developed that I think would be helpful for you. Click the wrong one. 1 second. We have a website that we've edited and built. It's chetscreek.com/help. And so here it is. It's popping up on your screen. It's not popping up on your screen. Give me 1 second. I apologize.
It was popping up on mine.
It was? Good.
Yep,
Do you
there.
see the help?
There it is.
Perfect.
It's there.
Perfect. All right. So this page, chetscreek.com/help. As our community navigates COVID-19 pandemic, we want to be able to offer help however we can. This has been updated even since I was on here earlier today. And so there's some items here that we've got listed that we're collecting, and you could drop those off, and it has the 4 different drop-off locations based off of which campus we're at and which campus you're at. And I believe the North Campus is going to be dropping off over at Oasis. And so there's also right here, I know Beth Chin has put together a sign up right here. If you click this link, we've had about 18,000 pounds of food delivered to the Southside campus, and we're in the process of sorting that. And so tomorrow and the next day, we're going to be sorting that. And so there's some sign up spots, and we're trying to do it and be mindful and wise of the 10 or less people together. And so that's why we're trying to do it in an organized manner with the signups. But click that, share that with your life group. Let them know that if they have some time and they're looking to serve, by all means, go for it. If you or anybody in your life group is over the age of 60, we're asking that you don't do this part right now, because we don't want to you're in a vulnerable state with this virus, and we don't want to put you in harm's way. But there are some other ways that we can get you involved. And so just keep that in mind. Towards the bottom of the page down here, if you're in a spot and you're not in that vulnerable category, I can serve someone. Click right here, and we're building a list of people that are available to serve, to go maybe pick up some groceries for some of our seniors who are trying to avoid from going out. Or if you or any of your neighbors or any of your life group members need help, you can go right here and click on request assistance. And that's one of the ways that we're just trying to put everything in one spot. And so I just want you to make sure you are aware of that website. All that being said, let's hop into actual Zoom training now. And again, if you're not already on mute, double check and make sure that you are for me, just so that we're not getting any feedback. I want to show you a few things tonight. And the first is how to set up an account. I know several of you already have done that, and which is fantastic.
You're not in mute.
Who's not muted? Cool.
It's not muted.
Excellent. All right, so I'm going to share my screen again, and we're going to go over to the Zoom homepage. And if you do not already have an account, then this is what you need to know over here. So several of you this past weekend already jumped in, and you signed up for the free version, which is fantastic. The free version gives you 40 minutes free. So let me show you that here. You click on plans and pricing up top, and if you just sign up, email, password, you're good to go. You get 40 free minutes, and then they kick you off. Now, here's the deal. I've heard, and I've seen it in a few places, and even some of our groups have been able to get this randomly, that Zoom is going to kind of bump that 40-minute limit for the time being in the midst of all this because of schools and hospitals and stuff that are using it. Now, I don't know how to get that every time. I know Pastor Eddie's group happened to get it this past Sunday, but then I know there were plenty of other groups who were using the free version, and 40 minutes in, they got kicked off. And what you can do, if you're okay with it, and your group's not gonna be frustrated with it, you can just re-click that link, that same link, and you could all get back on and get another 40 minutes. So that's a possibility if you wanna do that. If you prefer to just avoid that frustration, that headache, I've already gone ahead and just bought for myself the $15 a month. Only the host needs to buy it. So not everybody in the group, just one person needs to buy it, and that person sets up the meeting. I'll show you how to do that in a little bit. And if with the pro level, your meeting duration is limited to 24 hours, and so you have all the time in the world you need to be able to do it. So I highly recommend that, but you don't have to. Now, here's the deal. I know that $15 3 weeks ago might not have felt like a lot of money. And maybe right now it does because there's some things going on and you've been laid off from work or that's coming. And if that's the case, don't hesitate to send Brian, Darren, your receipt, and we will completely reimburse you for that if you need us to. We want to help you if that's what you feel is best for your group. So know that is an availability and an option if need be. Second thing, once you've set up the account, so once you've set up the account, I'm gonna go back here to Zoom to the home page. I'm gonna share my screen again. You're back here at the Zoom homepage. I'm gonna click, this is kind of your navigating button right here. And I'm gonna go to my account. I'm signed in, we're ready to rock and roll. 9 times out of 10, that my account button on the far right is the only button I ever really hit. I don't think you really need to use any other buttons because we're just using some basic features here. So what you're gonna do once you hit that my account is you come right here to where it says meetings, and you come and you click that. You can see that I've got several meetings over the next few days already scheduled that I'm gonna come in here and hit start whenever we're ready to go. But if you wanna schedule a meeting, once you get into Zoom, then you go to my account, then you come over here to meetings. Schedule a meeting is what we're going to click to schedule it. Once that comes up, we're going to do, we'll just call this one test, and you can name that meeting whatever it is. If it's your Sunday, 11 a.m. life group or Wednesday night, whatever you want to call it, adult life group, let's do Kalen, right? And we're going to say, Kalen, what time's your life group meet, brother?
We're going to do 11:30.
11:30, cool. And y'all are on Sunday, so we're gonna do Sunday. I just clicked the calendar, made it Sunday. I'm gonna click 11:30. If I can get the thing to scroll. 11:30, make sure it says AM. And I'm gonna say an hour and a half. He may go a little bit longer, may go a little less. That doesn't stop you. That just kind of gives you a general for your calendaring purposes. So don't get hung up on that. And you know what? We don't know how long this is going to last. So we're going to make this a recurring meeting. You click that, and this meeting is going to happen weekly, not daily, but weekly. And it's going to happen once a week, right? And so Sunday, and what I would do, instead of clicking by 5/10, by May 10th, I would click after, let's just say 20 weeks. Here's the deal. It's not going to be 20 weeks, but you don't ever have to go and redo this again. It's set up, and it's set up for good. Whoever's doing whiteboard, I appreciate it, but stop. Over here, so you got 20, you got it set up for 20, and you're good to go for 20 weeks, and it'll make sure that you're going nonstop every week, and it'll be seamless for you. So then what you're going to come over to do, I would unclick require a meeting password. I don't think it's necessary. I think it's an extra step for your people, and it just becomes another piece of frustration that's unnecessary. I would recommend that you always start your meetings with video on for both people, and that you always have the audio on. It's still going to give them the option, but you know your people and they know you, and so just start there. Now you may want to, in your first email out to your life group, if you haven't already, say like, hey, just be mindful that when you start, it's going to have your video is going to be on. So, yes, we're going to church, but we're at home, but make sure you're dressed. But be mindful of that. And then, so you've got your audio available for telephone and computer audio, both. Those are just key setups. And then really from there, you really don't have to do anything down here. I will tell you this though, I always mute participants upon entry. And the reason why is because it gets loud, it gets chaotic. And so somebody may be joining a meeting, but they're in the middle of finishing up, loading the dishwasher, and all of a sudden me and Beth are having a conversation, waiting for everybody else to join. And all of a sudden it's chaotic because someone's, rattling dishes, and it's just real loud. It's unnecessary. So I do that one, and the rest of them I just kind of leave as be. You'll come over here and you're going to hit save. That's all you got to do. And now what you're going to notice in my meetings, I've got, go to my Sunday test, all of my Sunday tests. These are the Kaylin life groups that we just started, and I can keep going down, and it's already there to go. And so my week's already planned out. I don't have to keep recreating that schedule. Does that make sense? I see those head nods. I appreciate it. Cool. So once you've scheduled a meeting, here's what we want to do now. Now we want to prepare to start that, to invite people to that meeting. Bob, Rosie, I believe this was talking, we'll answer some of your question that you had earlier. Let me go back. I'm going to go back one step and just to verbalize what I did there. So in meetings, you click on whichever meeting it is that you're interested in inviting people to. So the one I just created for Kaylin is test. And so I'm going to pick that one. And I'm going to scroll down to where it says join URL. Now, if people are joining by video, which is going to be most of your people, I would just recommend right-clicking that and clicking audio. I hear a dog barking, so if your microphone's on, if you could mute that, I appreciate it. So right-click the join URL, copy that link, and then as simple as, let's go send an email to Pastor Eddie Hastings because we want to invite him to our life group on Sunday. So I might say, hey, Eddie, below is our Zoom link for life group on Sunday. I pasted it, and all Eddie has to do when I send that to him is just open it. He'll click that just like you did tonight as a participant. You just click the link and it brought you right in, right? It makes it simple for the participant so that you don't have to worry about it. So I definitely recommend that. The other way you could do it, and Bob, this kind of goes to what you were talking about earlier. There's this button over here that says copy the invitation. And it has all this stuff over here. It has all the dates listed out for the next 20 weeks that we've already scheduled. It says Chris Liddon is inviting you to a scheduled Zoom meeting. And it has the ability for them to tap on their mobile phone right here. So Chicago, New York. They just click really any of those and it will work. My recommendation, Bob, would be that they just join by audio and not by video. And they could click that same link that you sent tonight. And there's people who their screens are blacked out. They're not showing their video right now. And that's totally fine. I think that's going to be a better quality, but it doesn't have to be that way. But that would be my recommendation. But Bob, that is how you would access those phone numbers for them to call in. All right. So now we are, again, I'm going to go back to the home screen. We've talked about how to set up your account. We've talked about how to schedule a meeting. And we've talked about inviting others to a meeting. I'm going to go back to the home screen and we're going to plan on how to start one of our meetings, right? So we've got it all set up. It's showtime. I'm going to go to my account.
Chris?
Yep.
How did you get to that home page where your My Account is?
Great question. I always click the Zoom logo. Zoom logo will get you right back there.
Oh, the Zoom logo. Okay.
Yep.
Okay,
And then you come
that's
back
fine.
over here to my account. You click on meetings.
Yeah.
And
Thank
I
you.
want to get ready to go into this one, which is the one that we've set up for Kaylin on Sunday. I can do two options. I can just come right here and click start. That's a simple option. Or I can come in here, click in here, and then hit start this meeting. Again, real simple. They keep it pretty self-explanatory. And once you start the meeting, you're really good to go for a while. So let me stop sharing for a moment. I know I've thrown a good bit at you. Are there any questions? And instead of just shouting them out, if anybody wants to either raise their hand or type them into the chat box, you can also do that to help kind of facilitate this discussion a little bit. But are there any questions in what I do? I see the Machosos got their hand raised. What you got?
So if I don't have everyone's email, last week when I did it as a test, I sent it out by text to their phone numbers. So here, what you were showing, I believe I would do the copy, the meeting invitation. Is that correct?
So you could.
Because that's what my son did it for me, so I went blindly into it. But that's how we did it. We sent text.
Yep. So you could do the copy of the invitation, or you could actually copy that link and send that link as a text message as well.
I think that's what we did.
Yep. So you could do it just like that. Perfect.
Okay. Thank you.
Mandy said that there's a discount code. Mandy Stevens, would you speak into that real quick?
Sure. Can you hear me?
Yep.
Okay. Yes. The first month that you sign up, if you type happy 50, all one word, capital letters, you get 50% off. So it's only $7.50 for the first month. And then it goes back up to 15 after that first month. But
excellent. Well, I saw a few people go like this, like they wish they'd known that 3 hours ago. That's great to know though. Will you do me a favor, Mandy, and type that into the chat just the way it's supposed to be? Excellent. John, I see you typed a question in there. Will you speak into what your question was, and then we'll see how we can answer that?
Yeah, I've been following along on my Mac and also on my iPad for the people that have iPads. And I followed you through setting it. It's a little bit different on the iPad, but I saw how you could schedule a meeting. The first question, it had an option for enable a wait room. What is that?
Yeah. I'll show you that in a moment in the settings. But so the idea of a wait room is that it allows everybody kind of to I think the understanding of it, to be honest, I disable it. But what you could do is it allows everybody to be able to wait and be on hold until you get in as the host.
Kind of queue up.
You click a button and get them all in there all at the same time. So it's another option of doing that for sure.
Okay. And then on the iPad, I set up a schedule for this Sunday, but then I didn't see where you could start it. It's pretty obvious on the computer screen, but it wasn't obvious on the iPad. I can fool around with it, on my own dime and probably figure it out.
Yeah, I haven't used it a ton on the iPad, only a few times, and more as a participant than as a host. So I'm not sure, but it's probably, in one of the corners or something like that would be my guess. Okay, Fritz, I see you got your hand raised.
Yeah, I just wanted to offer, I put a post in there. A friend of mine is a product manager for the Zoom app, and he sent a few helpful hints. And I posted a link to it in the chat if y'all want to look at that. A few things like disabling the whiteboard option, where someone was writing on your thing. You can disable that before. My wife has had issues with that with her students. And then also to the previous comment, on the iPhone, I use it for meetings when I'm on the road. And all you have to send out is, I forget how many digits, like a 12-digit meeting code. And as soon as you open up the app, it says, do you want to join a call? And you can click on it. Now, the way you set it up, Chris, all I had to do was push the button. I had to click on your link or on your thing that says meeting or whatever in your email, and that opened it up automatically, perfectly with just one touch. So however you did it made it extremely simple, but usually I just copy and paste the meeting code into the app and it starts up if it helps anybody on the iPhone.
Thank you, Fritz. Hey, Mark, are you, your comment here, is that in regards to Zoom bombing?
Yes, that's one of the items amongst others. Yes, sir.
I'm actually going to address that. And so can we come back and readdress that in a moment?
Absolutely.
Excellent. Thank you. Hey guys, for the sake of time, we're going to keep going. But if you do have additional questions, keep writing them down and we'll follow up as we need to towards the end or individually afterwards. So I'm going to go back to sharing my screen again, and I'm going to go back to the home page in a moment. So I'm sharing the screen. I'm going to go back to the home page, and there's a couple settings that I want you to have. And I'm going to send a document to you that kind of lists these out. So you don't have to write these all down right now, but I just want you to be aware of them and kind of where they're at. So again, I'm coming over here. I'm going to click My Account. And again, everything we really need is kind of in these first 5 or 6 options here. I'm going to click Settings. There's some general settings that I want you to set up, and there's some Zoom bombing settings, and I'll explain what that is in a moment, that I definitely want you to set up as well. So general settings, again, some of this is preference, but this is just kind of what I found to be to help these start well, start fast, and start without a hiccup. But having the video and the participant video enabled first and foremost, right off the bat. And then audio, telephone and computer audio allows both options so that depending on whatever they're using, it'll work for them. So enable host video, enable participant video, and enable audio type telephone and computer audio. I think those are going to be helpful for you. The fourth one is to mute participants upon entry. I'm going to come down here a little bit, and it's right here, and you just enable that. And again, I think that's helpful because whenever you have a bunch of people jumping in all at the same time, it could just get loud and rambunctious. There's also a button in the chat that you have as a host that allows you to be able to just mute all at once, or to unmute all at once. And so you do have that freedom as a host, not everybody, but just as the host. But mute participants upon entry, you want to enable that. The fifth one is breakout rooms, and I'm going to tell you what that is in a little bit. But for now, it's towards the bottom here, and you definitely want to enable that. And when you click it, you also have to make sure you click this. And it's going to ask you, you see how this pop-up button is showing up here that says save? Because my settings are already there, it's not working the same way, but usually you're going to click that, and then you're going to click the save button. So a breakout room is, so some of our life groups, like I know like Pastor Eddie and Scott Nelson, when they lead a life group, they've got about 20 to 25 people. They're in a small group or a small room, and they've got 3 or 4 tables all set up. And so whoever's teaching that week, maybe it's Scott, he'll be right here, and he'll say, all right, so kind of talking about some of these things, blah, blah, blah. And then he'll say, all right, now at your tables, I want you to discuss these things. And he'll give them 2 or 3 minutes at their tables to talk about some of these things. And then he'll say, all right, 30 seconds, and we're going to bring it back in. And in 30 seconds, he'll bring it back in, right? And so he'll say, all right, table 1, what were some of your observations? What did y'all find at table 2? And so he's allowing for more people to engage in the conversation by doing that. Well, a breakout room in Zoom actually allows for the same concept to happen. I think it's a very unique thing that it allows. And so by clicking breakout room as a leader, and I'll show you a video on it in a little bit, but by clicking breakout room, you actually end up dispersing everybody in the group into smaller groups. And so I can say, I want these groups to break up into groups of, excuse me, 4. I want these groups to break up into groups of 6, and everybody can break up. And then you have the ability to say, all right, I'm going to bring everybody back in 60 seconds or 2 minutes or whatever time limit it is that you set. And so, and by clicking this button down here, you're allowing yourself to pre-assign participants if you wanted to do that later on down the road whenever you're setting up a scheduled meeting. So those are the first 5 things in general settings that I want you to do. I want you to enable a host video, enable a participant video, turn on audio type to be telephone and computer audio. I want you to mute participants upon entry, and I want you to enable breakout rooms. Now, I'm going to scroll back up to the top. And unfortunately, we live in a broken and fallen world, and technology is a great blessing, but at the same time, technology, some people will use it for evil. I don't think, so let me say this first, I don't think that this is going to impact really any of y'all for the most part, because what you're going to do is you're going to send out your invitation links individually. You're going to send them to your life groups. And as long as they're not sharing those links publicly, it's not going to, the public is not going to have free access to those links, right? But for instance, this past Sunday, I shared my link publicly. I posted it on Facebook and said, hey, if you're free at 11 o'clock Sunday morning, right after our church service, whether you go to Chets or not, I would love for you to jump in. Now, that gave the whole wide world free access to jump in. And what is happening, and it didn't happen to us, praise the Lord, but what is happening in some places is that people that just don't know the Lord, right, and are broken and fallen and sinners in need of grace, they are jumping in and maybe throwing up inappropriate images, or they're dropping files into the chat box. And if somebody clicks on that file, it can corrupt a computer, right? And so they're putting bugs and things like that. And so there's ways that we can prevent people from being able to have those freedoms, right? So things you need to do in order to make sure that people aren't what it's called Zoom bombing you are these few things. And again, I'm gonna send you a document that has these listed in there for you, but I want you to see it. The first one is join before host. Disable it. You're not able to join into the meeting until the host starts the meeting. That prevents somebody from signing in 30 minutes early, putting up an inappropriate image and walking away. It just stops that. They don't have the option to do that. The second thing is file transfer. Let's find it down here. You want to make sure that is disabled. Again, that's so somebody doesn't drop a link or a file, or they can drop a link, but they don't drop a file into your chat box and contaminate people's computers with unwanted stuff. The third one is co-host. You want to enable that. I think that's helpful because it allows for, say, Dave Stevens is leading a life group. Mandy, he designates to be his co-host, and Mandy can watch while he's leading. And if somebody jumps in that isn't normally there, she can kind of have an eye on them. And if she sees that something pops up, she has the ability to real quick before, David could, without David skipping a beat, she can go in there and remove that person from the meeting. And so you're giving co-hosts the ability to make executive decisions on the fly if that needs to happen. And then there's two more. Screen sharing, which is right here. You want to enable it. I'm using screen sharing right now, but what I have it set as I have it set up that only the host can do it, that you don't have the ability to share your screen, which is going to be helpful to prevent somebody from putting something unwanted up there. And the other thing is allow removed participants to rejoin. Let me find that one real quick. Right here. You want to disable that. So if Mandy were to kick somebody out because they were doing something that they shouldn't be doing in the group online, they can't just re-click the link and rejoin. So again, and Mark, I'll let you speak to this just a moment, but I don't know that it's absolutely necessary to have a password if you're just sharing your link and your invitation to people that are in your life group, and it's not going out all over the world. Because like Fritz said, it was a one click, they're in, it just removed that extra barrier. And especially if you have people who are maybe not as tech savvy, that's an extra barrier that's going to be more difficult for them to jump in. And so I don't want to create barriers here when there's already enough as is. So that being said, Mark, I do welcome your input and want to hear what is you're thinking.
Yeah, nothing to add. In fact, you hit a number of the different things I was going to also bring up. I don't mind the password as a barrier. In fact, in one particular case, right? There was someone that we know that is not as technically savvy as others. So it just gave us a chance to have a one-on-one, very brief meeting prior to show them how to do it. And it really is simple. Once folks try it once, then they are able to get into the pattern. So I still just like to be overly cautious. That's just my modus operandi. So I like the passcodes to ensure that nothing can happen. And again, it gives me again another opportunity to meet with somebody one-on-one. That's never a bad thing.
That's very true. And you can have the ability to change that passcode and set it to what you want. So you could just change it to, you know, Coombs LifeGroup, and that's easy to remember. Your group's going to remember that. And so it's not a bad thing, especially if your people, once they learn it, they learn it. But just keep in mind those things for sure. All right, it is 7:40, so we're doing good on time. I want to show you a few more things. I'm not going to spend time in this email or in this conversation talking about how to have some tips for meeting. I shared that in an email last week, and I'll also include it on the document. But there are several things that I think, especially in the first meeting or two, that'll just be helpful for you online. Maybe whenever you send out your link code to an email or text message to those that you're to your life group, say, here's 7 things that I think are helpful for us to keep in mind while we're doing this online discussion. It just kind of sets the standard, sets the expectation from the very beginning, so that you can maintain control and it's not chaotic. So I want to help you do that as best as possible. But there are some training tools that Zoom offers that I want to make sure you are aware of. And a lot of those is, or one of those is, oh, I see a question down here from Terry McCoy. It says, how do you delete someone from the group? So I have the ability as a host in the chat box where it says, so for like Robert or Deborah and Lewis Harper, I can mute and unmute them. And I also have a button next to them that says more. And when I click more, I could scroll down and it says remove. So it's just a feature that the host has under the participants tab. And so that's how I have access to that. Cool. So one of the things that I recommend doing is using the chat box when you first sign in. Very first thing is using the chat box to send your team, and I'm going to do it for you right now, to send your team or your life group a link that has the transformation discussion guide for them, right? They could just click that link, it pops up on their computer, and they can see the questions all right in front of them. You can get that access to that at chetscreek.com/godsstory. That's GODS-story. That's one of the ways, that's the first thing I do whenever I lead a life group in here. It's hey, if you scroll up to the very top, there's a link there for you to get the discussion guide. I do that before anybody else gets into the group. It's already sets the tone right off from the beginning. Use it for that. I think you can also, if you have, right now I have 2 screens right here that are allowing me to do it. If you have that ability, one of the things you could do, and you could do this even if you didn't have that ability right now, if you were just working from one screen, you can copy some of the questions from the discussion guide and post them into the chat, which makes it easier so people aren't having to go back and forth all the time. But you're saying, allowing them to go, they can look at the chat and go, okay, what events or holidays in your family's history are celebrated most faithfully, right? And so you can ask the question verbally, but you're allowing them to have access to it right away. So use the chat box as a tool for you to be able to communicate things that you've already said, but without having to repeat yourself over and over, and as a resource to jump people to other areas that they may need to go. So that's how to utilize the chat. And how to share your screen. To be honest, that's a little difficult to show you how to do it if you're not the host. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to find a really simple, short YouTube video that will be 2 or 3 minutes and allow for you to be able to see that. And if you have any questions with it following up, I'd be glad to help you. But just short and simple for most of you, especially if you're working from a computer, there's in the very middle of the taskbar that Zoom has at the very bottom says share screen. And when I click on it, I have the option of which screen I want to show you. And it allows me to choose that. And then they can see everything you see. I think one of the ways you could use this going forward would be with if your group wanted to watch the Bible Project video, you could have it pulled up to the side, the lesson, the video that you want to show that week. And because we're not as crunched on time and you spend an extra 5 minutes showing a video, that's not a bad idea. And it'll set up the discussion a little bit. And so you have it there on the side, you click that and they can watch the video together and you can talk about it. So I think that's one of the ways you could use sharing your screen, but there's plenty of other ways as well. Number 3, breakouts. So again, I showed you, I told you that this was possible, and I'm gonna show you a video now from, it's like 2 minutes long, 3 minutes long. I'm gonna show you this video, and I'll also send this video to you whenever I send out everything in a little bit. But I think the volume's gonna work. Just bear with me though for a minute. And
hey everyone, Farah from Zoom here.
can y'all hear
On
it?
this brief video, we're going to show you how you can leverage our breakout room feature.
John North, were you able to hear that thumbs up? Great.
Take a large meeting or virtual classroom and split it up into smaller groups or sessions. You'll see that I have already enabled the breakout room feature, which you can find in your settings along the bottom. And that breakout room button will actually be right here. This is a button that only your hosts or co-hosts will be able to see. And right now we don't have a co-host in the session. If I manage my participants, I can hover over Catherine, for example, to make her a co-host. So she'll see this button now as well. When we're ready to split the group into smaller sessions, I can easily click this button to get a pop-up window asking me how many rooms I'd like to assign out and how many participants per room. For this example, it's recommending, since there are 6 people, we can split it up into 2 rooms. I can do this automatically or manually. So if we click on the automatic button, it'll generate those breakout rooms for us. Certainly if there's anyone I want to swap out, maybe I want to move Michael to the other room, I can exchange him for a different participant. Once I'm ready to open all rooms, I'll click this open all rooms button and our participants will be able to join the sessions that we've created for them. So we'll slowly see those people join. One thing that's really important to note is that as a host or a co-host, you can actually hop between the different rooms to talk to the participants. You can see here, I have the join button. Now everybody's left to go to the rooms. I can broadcast a message to everybody and say, wrapping up in 1 minute. And this will broadcast the message. And then I can close the rooms, which gives them a 1 minute timer to rejoin our session. We'll give everybody a second to rejoin, and I'll show you 1 or 2 additional features with breakout rooms. There we go. We can kind of see everybody kind of popping back in. Now everybody's rejoined the main session. You'll see that I have the opportunity to reopen these rooms again, which is really great. If you have a very long session or a very long virtual class, you can split into these virtual smaller groups as often as you'd like. And the additional options here will allow you to automatically close breakout rooms after a specified amount of time. You can also change the countdown timer to be 30 seconds or 2 minutes if you like. I'll show you a setting where you can also pre-assign folks to be in your breakout room before the classroom starts. You'll want to navigate over to the class that's already been created in your Zoom portal. Under the meetings tab, you can find your meeting. Scrolling all the way to the bottom, you'll see if we open this to re-edit it, I have the opportunity to pre-assign a breakout room here, and I can create the rooms and upload a CSV with all of my participants in advance so that their names are already populated in the room when I start the session. That's basically how you can run breakout rooms. We hope you found this video helpful. If you have any additional questions, please.
So I think that's going to be a valuable tool for if you do have a large group of maybe more than 15. I think you can use that wisely. I think also that could be valuable and just a neat tool for prayer. You share prayer kind of collectively. And so, hey, we're going to break up into groups of 8 groups of 3. And so there's 24 of us, right? And so we're going to, I can click real quick and adjust that. And who you land with, we're going to trust the sovereignty of the Lord and technology. I'm going to click a button and it's going to, put you together manually. And let's just spend some time all of us using our voices to pray and lift up our prayers to the Lord. And so I think there's some unique ways that you can use that. Not something you have to use, but I think it is valuable. And then the other tool is, and I believe most of you have actually seen it, and some of you have even accessed it. I see Bob has his hand raised right now. And so that's just what I want you to do. I want you to be able to encourage your people to be able to use that as a valuable asset in the conversation, especially when there's a lot of people. Now, look, if you've got a group of 7 or 8, it might not be as big of a deal, but I think that could be helpful to help kind of control the conversation. If you're looking with a group of 15 plus, hey guys, make sure you try and use the raise hand, lower hand. You have the ability. Like I could really bug Bob right now and click lower his hand because he keeps raising it. Giving you a hard time. Hey Bob, what you got, man? Make sure you unmute yourself. What you got, Bob?
Okay, thanks. It's a question from way back. When you schedule a meeting, there are 6 telephone numbers down the bottom. If you say telephone and computer, just the screens way back you went through, okay? And several of my people will probably just want to call in. They're a little gun shy when it comes to technology, so several might just want to just call in. There's 6 numbers. They say New York and Chicago. Can someone here use any of those numbers and then just listen to what takes place?
Bob, that's a great question. To be honest, I'm not positive. How about me and you this week test that out? And
okay.
We'll see what happens. Okay.
Yeah, I know you can call in, but I'd like to tell some of my people they might not want to be seen, or a little gun shy on the computer. Just pick up the phone. If they can listen, that would be sufficient for a couple of them.
Absolutely, and I think.
Hey, sorry, Chris.
One second. Okay. I think Bob, that would be a great if you could put the link for the URL and one phone number. I think that's going to make it simple. And make it easy to do right, hard to do wrong. I think that's really important. Fritz, go ahead.
Just going to say that, again, just from my use at work, when you call the number, it'll ask you for that code, and they can put the code in and just participate as a conference call.
Which code is that for?
There's a meeting code that you're given when you start a meeting. It's that like 8-digit code. And so when you call like the US number, it'll then ask you to put in the conference code, and you can put that in and it starts a conference call for you.
Excellent.
Well, that seems that'll work well. There's 6 numbers, but we do get a 9-digit code. So I'll pass that code on and we'll see what happens.
And Fritz, you probably know, but isn't there a way to put in like 3 or 5 periods, and then and then you put in the code after that, so that somebody clicks on it with their phone, it'll dial a number, pause, and then after the appropriate amount of periods, it automatically puts in that meeting code as well. So it's truly one-stop dialing.
You are correct. There is a way. I don't know the combination offhand. We have a vendor that uses it, and I only clicked it a few times, but I do know it's out there. I can try to send Chris a thing back the next time I hop onto my computer and see it, and I'll send him whatever the combination is. I think it's like a semicolon, but I can let him know.
Excellent. Hey Brian, I saw you, Brian Hill. You had your hand up. What you got, buddy?
Yeah. So there's a notice on the Zoom website right now that says, due to increased demand, dial-in by phone audio conferencing capabilities may be temporarily removed from your free basic account. So it's encouraging everyone, I think, to do it through computer, through the app. So I think just because everyone's wanting to use Zoom right now, that they're getting a little overwhelmed. So it looks like we may not want to rely on calling in, because that may be disabled for the free accounts soon.
Thank you. That's
yeah.
Good.
So I just don't want us to rely on that and then people not be able to join once the group starts. If you've upgraded, then you won't have to worry about it. But it looks like for the free option, that may not be available here soon.
Okay, that's good to know. Thank you for catching that, Brian. Okay. Terry McCoy, I see. Have you been able to find the raise hand button?
Yes, I had 2 responses on here, so I'm good. Thank you.
Teamwork makes a dream work. Excellent. Awesome. What other questions do you have right now? Yes, is that John? Yeah, what you got?
This is Ina. Okay, hi. Well, it's a little overwhelming. I'm like a deer in the headlights, but I'm believing that with God's help, I'll be able to get this into my brain. Okay, going back to what you told Lourdes and Ozzy about that Lourdes had had a link that she cut and pasted onto text messages. And then they were, could you explain that?
Ask the question, how did I get the link to?
Well, I mean, is there a way to get our people through text messaging to give them a link to click on?
Yes, but you will have to get it from Zoom. You'll have to get that link from Zoom, but yes, it would work. And so I'll share my screen real quick one more time with you. And then if you do have more questions about it, stick on the chat after we wrap up, and we can work through it together for sure. So again, I'm here at Test, which is what we created for Kaylin's Life Group, and I'm gonna click Test. And if you're sending this to your Life Group through a text message, you could type that out, make sure you get all the pieces right. You could copy it and maybe email it to yourself, get it on your phone, and then send it out as a text message to make sure that the link stays the same. There's definitely ways to this right here, that's join URL. That's what you want to copy and paste if you're trying to get people just in like we did tonight through the one link, one button click in here. Does that make sense?
Okay, so the tricky part is to make sure that what you have to take that information that you see on your screen and type it into another place.
Yeah, it's got to be
producing it exactly.
Yep, it's got to be verbatim, and if it's not, then you might jump into somebody else's random meeting or something. So that's why copying, pasting is probably going to be the safest, but do keep that in mind. If you do, do it yourself, make sure that you get all the characters right. Robert, I saw you raise your hand.
Yeah, the problem if you do that, just to let you guys know, John, is that they're going to have to type it into their computer unless they're going to look at it from their phone. So now you're having multiple conversions via typing that will more often than not create some issues. So if they're going to watch on a computer, I want to just send it to them that way.
Yeah, that's good. Okay. Any other questions? We're about 7:55, so we're kind of right on time to what I was thinking. Larry Price, I see that hand. I like saying that. That's fun. Larry, if you unmute yourself, you can.
Okay, can you hear me now?
Yep.
Okay. You may have already covered this when you were switching back and forth between the screens, but I just want to know, is there a way that I could have another device as a participant and show a PowerPoint or a YouTube video or something like that?
Yep.
In addition to my session?
Yep. So that's going to be the share screen aspect. And so when you would click share screen at the bottom, it would allow for you to choose what on your screen you want to share. And if that's your PowerPoint, then you'd be able to show that PowerPoint and they would be able to see that. Is that answering what you're thinking there? Good. All right. Any other questions?
Yeah, Larry, that's what I do all the time. I have two monitors. I have the PowerPoint on one, and then I usually show a Bible project or something, YouTube on the other. And so what I've already got that set up in my browser. So when I want to show the PowerPoint, I do the share screen, they can see the PowerPoint and I yak through that. And then when I want to go to the YouTube, I stop that share and then go to where the YouTube is and then click that and share, and then they can see that. And then I stop the share and I get back to me. I don't know if that's clear or not, but I know what you're talking about because I do exactly what you asked.
Well, everyone, I do appreciate your time. If you do have any questions, I'm going to stick around in this meeting. And so I appreciate your investment in those that you're leading. I know that this is different. I know that it's new and different, and change can be frustrating, can be scary. There's enough anxiety already going on to add this to the mix. Just feels sometimes overwhelming. But here's what I will tell you to be encouraged by. I was really encouraged this week when Bob Roggio's life group, which at our Hodges campus, that's the oldest life group. And I'd say probably the average age in that life group is would you say 80, Bob?
Oh man, that hurts. That hurts. Average age 80, give me a break.
75?
A little bit less, maybe 72.
72, okay. My apologies. Anywho, they had 23 in there this past Sunday. And I think, maybe been even more of that. Actually, I think it was 30 the last count I got. So they had 30 people that were able to figure this out. And, Bob worked on it and helped kind of make it as simple as possible. And so it is, once they do it once, I really think it's going to end up being pretty simple. So all that being said, I'm grateful for you. I love you. I'll be sticking around if you want to ask any more kind of follow-up questions. But other than that, I'm going to ask Pastor Eddie to pray for us, and then you'll be good to go if you don't have any more questions, okay?
Hey, sorry I'm harassing my parents over in the chat box there. Yeah, that's great. Thank you, Chris. This has been awesome, and really appreciate you taking the lead on doing all this. And you guys, if you haven't done it yet, we did my life group Sunday, and I was just surprised at how awesome it went, that people wanted to talk to each other and connect. And so folks are really looking for a connection. So just encourage you to give it a try. It is, like Chris said, a little awkward and weird to think about, but it's a great way to stay connected. So we appreciate all you guys are doing. It's fantastic to see what you guys have been taking care of your groups and just leading out in this. So we really appreciate that. So let's pray then. Lord, thank you so much for these leaders that are here tonight, all the ones that are in this meeting, the ones that are not, God, what they do week after week to connect with people, take care of them, to feed them spiritually, to just watch over them. God, I pray you give them energy and you protect their health and their worries and anxieties they may have. I pray that you'd help them with, some of them may be struggling with job situations or what's going to happen next with work or things with having kids at home and doing all that. God, I just pray you give them your peace today and your wisdom in the things they're doing. We pray for our groups and the folks in them, Lord, and just that this would be an opportunity for us to connect during this time where it's difficult to do that face to face. We know this is not the same thing, God, but this is just thank you for this technology that allows us to do this much. What a blessing it is to be able to stay up with our groups and help each other. Bless us, Lord, in the days ahead. Be with those, Lord, who are not feeling well. Be with those who are struggling with what to do next, and those who are on the front lines of dealing with different things with this virus and healthcare and transportation and all these different areas and things that are working on that. Lord, we thank you that you're bigger than anything we face, and we can trust in your goodness and your plan. In Jesus' name, amen.
Thank y'all.
Thanks, Chris.
Thank you.
Thank you much.
You're very welcome. Very welcome.
Chris, thank you very much. I appreciate it. Thank you.
Absolutely, John. You're very welcome. If I have any questions.
I agree. Thank you. If all else fails, if there's user error in getting this thing set up, are you doing another life group thing like you did Sunday?
I sure am, and I'll post
it
in the. Oh, sorry. I was trying to send a message to Scott privately. I'm not trying to do that. I'm trying to send it to everybody. I just didn't put my email in there. If you have questions in the chat box, put my email down there. If you do have questions, follow up with us and let us know, and we will 100% make sure that you're, we'll help you get this off the ground. But yes, I will be doing that on Sunday for anybody that is already disconnected, or if anybody is trying to if your group does have issues with it and needs a space. Absolutely. Okay. All right. Yeah, go ahead, Isla.
Why are you wearing a cord in your ears?
Yeah, so that's actually one of the tips for meeting that I have down here. It's not necessary, but this microphone is right here next to my mouth, and I think it just produces better sound quality as the host. You don't have to do it at all. I'd say honestly, most people don't. I'm just trying to. I wanted this to be, because I was recording it, I wanted it to be helpful and clear all the way through.
Oh, thank you.
Okay. Thank you, Chris.
Absolutely. Okay. John North, I see you're sticking around. You got any questions, brother?
No, I think I have it figured out. I've been following along on my iPad also, just to look at perspective from both devices.
That's wise.
And we're going to give it a go. We're going to test it maybe tomorrow or the next day.
Okay.
And see what happens.
Yeah. Well, if you need me along the way, just reach out. Okay, brother?
Okay. Thank you.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I think Chris might have mentioned this, but it's good. I mean, the first time you do it, you don't have to make it like expect it to be a full life group, more like a test run, or, do prayer requests and a short devotion, whatever, and then see how it goes. And from there, I think you'll kind of gauge what's next. So I had just a short devotion prepared for mine. We spent more time just catching up the first time. I don't expect that'll be every time, but yeah.
Good. Sorry, I'm reading through some of the chat messages that I missed.
And I have a confession to make. That was me that was drawn on the screen. I didn't know that everybody could see that. I was playing around doing it, and I'm like, oh, what's this button do? And then Chris was like, hey, whoever that is, quit doing it.
And it was my dog too. I'm sorry.
Now that we're in the smaller group, we can confess. Yeah.
Confession's good for the soul.
Super funny.
So long, everybody.
So long. Bye.
Bye.
Jeff, good, brother.
Good night, all. God bless.
Finding out. Thank you.
All right.
Thanks, guys.
How do I get out of this thing?
I'm glad I'm still recording. I'm gonna save that.
Bob just has to stay on all night talking. Ephraim looks like an angel over there with that light above his head.
Bob, you want me to remove you from the meeting? I can click you out.
Wait a second. What's this?
He's back.
I heard your comment. What angel is this? Oh, that's my grandkids up in the corner.
Oh, yeah.
Some of them. Yeah, honestly, how do I get out of this thing? Oh, I see.
Bottom right should say end meeting. Or,
I think I got it.
Yeah, cool.
I'm guessing that John stepped away from his chair again and just left his computer running.
Probably. And Carla or Pedro, are y'all in there? Excellent. I want to remove.
Good job, Chris. That was really good.
Excellent.
Really helpful.
Went right at about an hour, which is what I really kind of wanted.
Yeah.
It's good. So
I saw Spike pop in for a few minutes. I don't know how long he stayed.
good. Did you hear me give him a hard time on Monday?
No.
No. So he said, yeah, I popped in on yours on Sunday morning. I said, yeah, we all saw your nose hairs because you had the person right here.
Perfect. Had that camera right there, huh? All right. Well, you guys take care. Good job. That was really good.
Thank you. Nighty.
All right. See you later.
Bye, y'all.